Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something maybe unexpected, some personal gardening notes.
Yeah, at first glance, really specific stuff. Notes on Gardening, part 663, all about starting seeds, sunlight, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But as we dug in, we realized it's a fantastic little case study.
Totally. It's less about the plants, really, and more about managing environments dynamically, even tiny ones. It kind of challenges that idea that small space equals simple environment.
Right. So our mission today is to zoom right into this little backyard balcony experiment the writer describes. We want to pull out this core idea of constantly adjusting things.
And show how it applies to, well, pretty much anything you manage.
Right.
Projects, habits, you name it. This idea that you can just set and forget. It's kind of a myth.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The writer's trying to get seeds going on this balcony, and the big aha moment.
They realized they had to keep moving the seedling trays and pots all the time. They couldn't just find one good spot and leave them.
Which is interesting, because you'd think a balcony, it's small, maybe it has sun, maybe shade, two zones, top.
But no, the notes mentioned finding quite a few microclimates, even in that really confined space.
Quite a few microclimates. That phrase just jumps out, doesn't it?
It really does. And we're not talking massive temperature differences. It's subtle stuff, but powerful. Think about why on a balcony.
Okay, yeah. What creates them?
Well, you've got physical things. The railing, maybe, that acts like a mini wall, right? Creates a bit of wind shear right near it.
Uh,
Then there's the floor, the building wall itself, concrete or brick, probably. Absorbing heat, radiating it back out, that's thermal mass.
Okay. So the light hitting a plant in the morning, even if it's the same amount of light as the afternoon, it's coming through a different heat profile.
Exactly. The air temperature right around the plant is different. It's like having, I don't know, 5 different thermostats in one tiny office cubicle.
That's a great analogy. It's not just about where the sun is in the sky, it's how the surroundings shape that little pocket of environment.
Precisely. And if you're not paying attention to those little local variations and, crucially, responding to them, something's going to fail.
So let's get specific. The writer used one particular plant to track this, a Vinca seedling.
Yeah, the Vinca was like their canary in the coal mine, so to speak, their indicator.
Okay, so what happened with the Vinca?
Well, the notes say it sprouted, but its growth seemed stunted. Just didn't take off like it should.
And the immediate thought was sunlight. It wasn't getting enough.
That was the hypothesis, not receiving enough sunlight.
Now, wait a second. Seedlings, they can be tricky. How did the writer know it wasn't, say, too much water? Or maybe the soil mix wasn't right. Why jump straight to light?
Good question. And that's where you see the careful observation in these notes. They didn't just have one Vinca. They had multiple trays, different kinds of seedlings.
Okay. A comparison.
Right. Same water, same soil mix to start. But the Vinca in that specific spot was the one really struggling. Others nearby might have been doing okay.
So controlling the variables.
Exactly. And the way it was stunted, not really stretching out, pale leaves that points more towards lack of energy, light rather than drowning. Especially when you add in the other factor they mentioned,
Which was?
the external context, the thing that was compounding the problem.
Let me guess. Weather.
Yep, the recent monsoon season.
Okay. So lots of cloud cover.
Many gloomy days, as notes put it. That means the baseline level of light across the whole balcony was just lower, less energy available overall.
Right. So a spot that might have been just barely okay on a sunny day.
Becomes totally inadequate when it's overcast for days on end. Exactly. Sunny days give you wiggle room, a margin for error. Gloomy days, that margin disappears.
So the weak spots in the system, the less than ideal microclimates, they get exposed when external pressure increases.
Perfectly put, it raises the stakes. If the whole system is under stress, low light everywhere, then finding the absolute best remaining spot becomes critical for survival. You can't afford okay anymore.
It forces you to optimize, doesn't it?
It forces active management. You can't be passive.
Okay, so the solution becomes pretty clear then. If the spot is the problem.
You move the plant. The writer details moving the Vinca pot to a different spot. A microclimate they knew got nearly full sun. Even during the limited hours, the sun actually broke through.
And did it work?
The notes say they started to see new growth after the move. Direct cause and effect, find the right microclimate, provide the needed resource, get results.
And this highlights the gardener's underlying situation, right? They mentioned they don't have that perfect setup.
Exactly. No big open, flat area with full constant sunlight exposure. That's the key constraint. They can't create ideal conditions.
Which, let's be honest, is the reality for most of us in whatever we're managing. Limited budget, limited time, clunky software. We rarely have the perfect field.
Right. So you can't build the perfect lab. You have to work with what you've got. The writer sums it up perfectly. Have to make do with what I have and adjust accordingly.
That phrase, adjust accordingly, that's the core of it, isn't it? It forces you to be proactive, constantly looking for the best local solution instead of relying on some grand static plan that only works in theory.
Yes. Because the ideal environment doesn't exist, or at least they don't have access to it. Adaptability becomes the primary skill.
Okay, let's pivot now. Let's pull the lesson out of the gardening context. The takeaway isn't just, move your flower pots around.
No, it's about realizing that managing anything effectively, especially when things aren't perfect, requires constantly checking the environment, tracking conditions.
And being willing to physically, or maybe metaphorically, move the pot for whatever needs it most. The struggling project, the team member who needs different support, that task that keeps getting stuck.
And recognizing when it's most crucial. Like the notes say, especially during challenging times like that monsoon season, that's when precise adjustments matter most.
It's also about recognizing that different things need different conditions, isn't it? We tend to group similar things together for convenience. All the seedlings in one area, maybe all our admin tasks in one time block.
Right. But these notes suggest efficiency comes from meeting the needs of the specific resource. The Vinca needed that sunny spot, even if it meant separating it from the other seedlings.
Okay, let's run with that. Think about a monsoon season at work. Maybe it's the end of quarter crunch or a really difficult client project.
High pressure, resources stretched thin, lots of gloom.
Exactly. So in that environment, which tasks are your Vincas? Which ones are struggling because their current microclimate, maybe the time slot you've allocated or the way you're approaching them just isn't giving them enough sunlight?
Maybe it's that big strategic report, your Vinca. It
Yeah.
needs deep focus, right? But its current microclimate is the mid-morning slot. Constant emails, people popping by.
Interruptions, shadows, not enough focused energy getting through.
Exactly. The environment is actually stunting that high-value task.
So the solution, the dynamic adjustment.
Move the pot. You shift that task. Maybe block out 7 a.m. before the office weather kicks in. Or find a quiet corner, literally or figuratively, in the late afternoon. A spot that reliably gets nearly full sun, meaning focused, uninterrupted time.
Something else occurs to me. The notes imply the Vinca sprouted okay initially, right? It was the growth that stalled.
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
The environment needed for germination, just getting started, isn't necessarily the same environment needed for robust, sustained growth.
Ah, so the place where the seed first sprouted, which was obviously good enough for that state.
Became detrimental later on. It couldn't provide the increased energy the growing plant needed.
Okay, wow. How often do we do that? We set up a system or a process for the start of something, launching a project, onboarding someone, and then we just leave it like that.
Even when the project scales up, or the person needs to develop advanced skills, we forget to move the pot to an environment that supports the next stage of growth. We stick with the germination setup.
And that connects back to the gardener's constraint again. Because they didn't have that perfect, easy setup, they were forced to notice this stuff, forced to adapt.
Right. Constraint can breed better solutions sometimes. The person with a perfect field might never develop the skill of spotting microclimates or understanding phase needs. They don't have to.
So accepting that your situation isn't ideal is actually the first step towards becoming a better manager.
I think so. It forces you to become a dynamic manager. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect because they won't be. You can't move the building or stop the rain.
You can only move the plant. You focus on what you can control within your limited environment.
It's about optimizing your access to what you need. Sunlight, focus, quiet time, whatever, within the messy reality you actually operate in. And that takes constant attention.
If you accept that even a small balcony isn't uniform, that it has multiple zones needing different approaches.
Then you have to accept that your bigger systems, your work, your team, your personal life are definitely not uniform either. You can't run them on autopilot with one single plan.
Okay, let's wrap this up. A quick recap of this deep dive. We started small on a balcony.
And saw that tight spaces don't mean simple environments. Constraints actually create complexity microclimates formed by light, heat, wind interacting with the physical structure.
We saw the Vinca seedling struggle, a specific resource needing a specific environment, especially when external pressures like the monsoon hit.
And the solution wasn't fixing the weather, it was relocation. moving the resource to the best available microclimate.
Which led us to the big principle. In almost any real-world scenario where conditions aren't perfect, success comes from dynamic, continuous adjustment.
Yeah, tailoring your actions to the specific changing needs of your key resources, not just applying a static, one-size-fits-all approach. Resourcefulness trumps raw resources.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with. If even a simple balcony needs constant micromanagement, what are the hidden microclimates in your own day, your own work, your own habits?
Is there a project, a goal, maybe even a relationship that feels stunted right now? Is it stuck in the wrong spot?
What small dynamic adjustment could you make? What simple relocation could give that struggling Vinca the nearly full sun it needs to finally share some new growth?
Something to think about. Time to go find your Vinca.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.